Hello, Miami University and all Oxford community. I'm Piper.
And I'm Ava, your co-host for tonight's show. Welcome back to Miami Television News. It was a busy time in Oxford last weekend as Miami and Cincinnati faced off in the 128th matchup in the battle for the Victory Bell, college football's oldest non-conference rivalry. Let's turn it over to Andrew, Zoe, and Sophia to see what they have on the Bearcats versus the Redhawks.
Hello and welcome to the Battle for the Victory Bell football preview. It's Miami versus Cincinnati here in MTN. My name is Andrew Elvis, joined alongside Zoe Gutierrez and Sophia Mather, and we've got all the previews here for the upcoming highly anticipated matchup between the Bearcats and the Redhawks here in MTN. The Redhawks and the Bearcats have a storied history dating back to 1888. The two teams have matched up 127 times, with the rivalry split right down the middle, 60 wins, 60 losses, and 7 ties. Last year, the Redhawks and the Bearcats matched up for the 127th time in the storied rivalry, and it was an all-time classic at Nippert Stadium. It would come down to the wire before Brett Gabbert would pull out a heroic stop to bring the Redhawks to a 31-24 victory in the heart of Cincinnati, tying up the series 60, 60, and 7. Miami is returning a familiar set of characters to offense this year, including sixth-year starter Brett Gabbert, who's already won the MAC 2 years in his career, searching for a third after the Redhawks won the MAC last year. He's also got his favorite receiver in Cade McDonald coming back into the fold and hoping to explode against the Cincinnati secondary. For Cincinnati, this is a team that's hoping for a turnaround year after a tough 3-9 season in their first year in the Big 12. They're, of course, led by Brendan Sorsby, the transfer from Indiana after 2 seasons for the Hoosiers. He's also got 2 strong returners coming back offensively, including Corey Kiner, who was one of the top running backs of the Big 12 last year, along with Xavier Henderson, who is predicted to be one of the top players in the Big 12 in the receiver fold once again.
This is Sophia Mather.
And I'm Zoe Gutierrez.
And we're here from MTN to talk about the battle for the Victory Bell.
In the 2024 season, Miami is looking to be both back-to-back champions for the Victory Bell and the MAC.
There will be only one more matchup in 2026 at the Paycor Stadium to finish off the rivalry.
In the 2023 season, the Redhawks had a very strong defense, leaving them ranked 8th nationally in their scoring defense. They allowed just 86 points in 8 conference games, which is the fewest in MAC play since 2000.
The teams have played every year since 1945, and it's the longest standing non-conference rivalry in college football.
The game, of course, will begin at 12 o'clock on Saturday at Yager Stadium. It'll be streamed on ESPNU and should be a fun one with many Miami fans to be in attendance. I've also heard word that there's going to be cowbells, so it's going to be a loud, raucous environment, and Miami fans are hoping to give the Cincinnati faithful a tough time in Oxford. Should be a fun one, and it'll be exciting to see if the Redhawks can pull away with a victory to make the series 61, 60, and 7.
At the end of last semester, Miami University transitioned from Aramark Collegiate Hospitality to Chartwell's, a Compass company for on-campus dining services. This switch has led to many complaints from students. Last week, the university sent out emails to parents and families outlining the many changes it plans to make in the near future to better satisfy its students.
Red Life Coffee is Oxford's newest spot for students to get their caffeine fix. Red Life opened its doors for the first time on August 30th, and a grand opening celebration was held September 14th. The shop is owned by the Calvary Church and plans for Red Life to function as both a church and coffee shop. After a long 3-year renovation process, the shop is serving high-quality coffee and unique decadent crepes. You can find the shop at 22nd North College Avenue.
With Miami's Technology Center closing just last semester, students were wondering if there'd be a new location on campus. When students returned in the fall, it was quickly discovered that the once-loved Cafe Lux had been shut down to make room for the new IT center. MTN reporter Emmy talked with students to get their perspective on the situation.
Thanks, guys. MTN wanted to take a deep dive in the students' perspective on the new tech support system versus the loss of Cafe Lux. Have you seen the new Technology Center?
I did just now.
How do you feel about it in comparison to Cafe Lux?
Well, I thought it was really, really nice. It seemed like a really comforting space, and it was fast and really helpful, so I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good where it was at. I mean, I'm a freshman, so I don't really know any different. But overall, it was a great experience, and I felt really supported, so yeah.
I think it takes another option, for a different coffee alternative. Some people don't like Starbucks, or just having another option is really good, so I kind of think it's stealing a good other place to study away from students.
And do you think you'll use their services?
No, not at all. I'm actually a senior, so I live off campus, so I don't really come on campus that much anymore.
And did you know they were going to take away Cafe Lux?
No, I didn't. This is the first I'm finding out about that, so. Yeah, I feel like Shriver Center, where it used to be, is probably the best option, because I feel like that's where a lot of students would think it's at. The Armstrong Student Center, I mean, yeah, it would make sense to have something like that here, but not in the place of the coffee place.
How do you feel about the new technology center here?
It's a technology center. It's great to have something like that a little bit closer, have a little bit more like main campus, but.
And how do you feel about it being in place and as opposed to Cafe Lux?
It's a little confusing. I loved going to Lux, and I'm really sad that it's gone. I didn't know it was leaving either, and I was very surprised when I walked in to find it not there.
And do you think you'll be using any of their services?
I don't really need tech help that often, so no.
How do you feel about the new Technology Support Center here in Armstrong?
To be honest, didn't even know that it was here. I have to say I did love Cafe Lux, so I'm actually pretty sad that there's something else there. I think a coffee shop like in the student center for students was a good idea. So.
And do you think you'll be using the tech support services?
I do not.
While we've interviewed some freshmen and some upperclassmen, the freshmen didn't seem to mind about Cafe Lux being gone, while the upperclassmen are in shock and in shambles about Lux being gone. Now back to you.
This year, Miami University hired former journalism professor Rosemary Pennington as the new chair for the Media Journalism and Film Department. Her research focuses on the way media portrays minorities and marginalized groups and how such groups use media to contest representation. She has had a very successful career working for multiple radio stations, publishing 2 books, and winning the Alabama Associated Press's Best Specialized Reporter 2 years in a row. Needless to say, it is an honor to have her as a lead department advisor.
Bachelor Hall is undergoing major renovations this year. Miami University is hiring student architecture interns to help with the planning, rendering, and administrative tasks for a project of this size. MTN sat down with a university architect intern who gives insight into what students have to look forward to after the renovations are complete.
My name is Ava Wetzel. My major is architecture, and then I'm minor in urban design. And then my position here, I'm a student intern with the planning and architecture engineering department here on campus, and I just do a lot of like architectural works depending on like if it's more non-capital renovation or if it's more capital projects. I've worked with Miami's architecture branch for like 2.5 years. I started out my summer going into my sophomore year, and now I'm a senior, so it's been like 2.5 years. For the bachelor renovation, I have been a part of the whole process, the pre-process with pre-programming all the like spaces, because it is a main building that is used throughout the school year. It has many departments in it, so I helped with a little bit of the reprogramming those spaces and kind of like dispersing them and like developing where the spaces would be, as well as some of the like, I haven't been to a ton of design stuff, but I've been to a lot of the big meetings, and I've done some site field report visits and stuff. Students get to look forward to a lot for the bachelor renovation. There are a lot of cool renders that are out there. The courtyard space, it's very underutilized right now. It's very kind of stark and dark, and it's like a lot of it's kind of broken up, which is why the renovation is occurring. It's outdated, it's hard to navigate. They can expect a lot more unity and continuation throughout the building. I think students are really going to enjoy the space. There's going to be a lot of nice study breakout spaces, lounge spaces. It'll be overall much more useful. It's almost going to be like another main hub for studying, like Armstrong or King Library. The whole idea is to illuminate the space and make it feel open and inviting, so students can appreciate the space and utilize it more than just a place they just go to take classes, but a place where they can meet other students, do work, and also have time to enjoy themselves in between classes.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Elvish, joined alongside Jake White here for the Miami Sports Update. It's good to finally be back on campus with classes back in swing as well as sports. For Miami Athletics, this is a busy time in the fall with many sports already underway. One sport that Miami fans are truly excited for is the Miami Redhawks football team. This team is looking to impress both in the MAC and on the national stage. So far, Miami's had a tough season as they've struggled to rush out of the gate, falling to 0-2 after defeating on the road at Northwestern in Week 1, 13-6, and failing to defend home turf in the battle for the victory bell at home in Week 2 versus Cincinnati, 27-16. The game against Cincinnati was one that came down to turnovers as the Bearcats would force a muff punt fumble in Miami territory and force an interception deep in their own territory. Those two turnovers really would mean all the difference in this rivalry matchup. Miami quarterback Brett Gabbert shined as he threw for 339 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 58-yard strike to Reggie Virgil and 135 receiving yards to Cade McDonald. Despite the struggling offensive numbers, it was the playmakers for the Bearcats that tipped the scale in their favor when they needed it the most. Corey Kiner led the Bearcats on the ground with 21 carries for 126 yards and 1 touchdown, along with Xavier Henderson, who had himself an afternoon with 105 receiving yards on 10 receptions. Despite the score, this remained close up until the very end, and Miami fans should hold their heads high for this valiant effort against the Bearcats. Their next matchup will be on the road in South Bend to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish this Saturday in a nationally televised contest at 3:30. All eyes will be on the Redhawks to see if a second MAC team in 3 weeks can upset the Irish at home after the Northern Illinois Huskies did it 11 days ago by a score of 16-14. It should be an entertaining matchup, and I'm sure all Miami fans are excited about the battle between the Fighting Irish and the Redhawks coming up in just a few days.
Thanks, Andrew. The women's soccer and volleyball teams have also joined on the excitement for their full swing seasons. The Miami women's soccer team are off to a hot start this season. In their non-conference schedule, the Redhawks have opened up with a 4-1-2 record. Their most notable result, a tie against the 21st ranked team in the nation, the South Carolina Gamecocks. Most recently, Miami faced off against the Chicago State Cougars for their final game in non-conference play on the road in Chicago. From start to finish, the matchup was spectacular as the Redhawks blanked the Cougars 4-0. The fifth-year transfer from Mercer, Jamie Holybeck, opened up the scoring for Miami in the 15th minute. Second-half goals from senior McKenna Morrison, freshman Tally Weitzel, and an own goal from the Cougars sealed the deal. Miami's next matchup will be at home against the Northern Illinois Huskies this Thursday at 7 p.m. For Miami volleyball, the team have found themselves in a transitionary stage. This season marks the first in 40 years without Carolyn Condit. In Condit's place, former Penn State assistant Dan Gwitt hopes to bring the team back to its old glory. This season, Miami has been solid, with a record of 5-4 after 3 non-conference invitationals. The most recent came in the Valparaiso Invitational, where Miami finished 1-2 with a win against the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons and 2 defeats coming at the hands of the Cornell Big Red and the host of the Valparaiso Crusaders. The standouts in the Invitational were sophomore outside hitter Reagan Lance with 28 kills, redshirt sophomore Anna McClure with 50 digs, and freshman setter Sophie Crawford with 58 assists. The next set of matches for the Redhawks will be in the Northern Kentucky Invitational against the Xavier Musketeers and the Northern Kentucky Norse this Friday and Saturday at 4 and 6 p.m.
On August 31st, a new thrift store, Flow State Vintage, opened its doors. Flow State Vintage is co-owned by Miami sophomore Caleb Clory and his partner Ethan Stewart. The two got their start from selling their clothes at fraternity houses and sorority suites. For anyone who's interested in checking out their store, it is located on 37th West High Street. Thank you for tuning in to Miami Television News. I'm Ava.
And I'm Piper. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Miami MTN.